Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the Cali Effect. Today we are going over the DDD deck profile that you guys, the people, have decided for me to do a deck profile on. For the people that don't know exactly what I'm talking about, on our Facebook like page, we ran a contest where it was between 3 other decks that you guys can choose for me to do a deck profile on. Now, for the people that have missed out on that competition, you can always still go to the Facebook like page and still get more Cali Effect content, as we do plan on giving you guys a couple of deck profiles on that like page of decks you guys would love to see. Also, go ahead and follow for more exclusive content solely to that channel, as well as deciding certain videos. But with that being said, let's get on to the DDD deck profile and why I play this strategy. It's actually a deck that I did play at the beginning of the format. Only reason why I stopped is because I wanted to try some other things, but I think it's a very, very strong strategy right now, even without the structure deck. 3 copies of DDD King Oblivion Abyss Ragnarok. What its pin scale effect does is allow us to special summon a DDD monster from the, or when we special summon a DDD, allow us to special summon another DDD monster from the graveyard, and then its monster effect allows us to special summon a DD monster from the graveyard when it is normal or special summon. Furthermore, we contribute a DD monster to banish a monster our opponent controls. 3 copies of DD Savit Thomas. What DD Savit Thomas does is, if it's in our pin scale, we can add 1 DD monster from our extra deck to our hand. Furthermore, if it's in a monster zone, you can destroy 1 DD pin scale you control to special summon 1 level 8 DDD monster from your deck to your side of the field. So essentially, it is a free rank 8 play. Next is 3 copies of DD Savit Kepler. You do not want to use its pin scale effect, but it is the only high scale that we do have. So more often than not, you're going to probably have to lay this card in the pin scale. Its most relevant effect is when it's normal summon or special summon, we can add 1 dark contract from our deck to our hand. Next copy is DDD Rebel King Leonidas. It doesn't really have any good effects, but I guess when we take damage, or its most relevant effect is when we take damage, we can reveal this card to special summon, then gain the same amount of damage. The reason why we play it is because it is a low pin scale and it's a level 7 monster. It actually comes in handy with a couple of interesting plays. Next, for the non-pendulum DD monsters, we have 3 copies of DD Swirl Slime. This is one of the essential components of the deck. It allows us to fusion summon with that card and another DDD monster, or another DD monster. Furthermore, if it's in your graveyard, you can banish it to special summon 1 DD monster from your hand to your side of the field. Next is 3 copies of DD Necro Slime. This card allows us to fusion summon from the graveyard. The reason why we run so many copies is because of Pot of Desires. We don't want to banish too many with them, as they're a very important effect to the strategy. After that, we run 2 copies of Maxi. Anytime our opponent special summons and allows us to draw too many cards, we're going to be able to break their board just off of the sheer numbers. This is a combo-based deck, so drawing cards for us is always great. 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend. This was, I was running Puppet Master as opposed to Vanity's Fiend. I decided to cut the Puppet Master for the Vanity's Fiend, and it's for a couple of reasons. First of all, this has an amazing ABC matchup. You can almost outright win the game just by summoning this card against ABCs. Secondly, when my opponent decides to maxi me, I'll special summon out the world. And then, since I haven't used my 1 tribute summon, I'll tribute summon one of my monsters for Vanity's Fiend and tell them, go ahead and try to counter swarm me. I know you don't run Raigeki, but for, I guess, the Raigeki plays, I do pay for it. Other than that, Vanity's Fiend can be a complete blowout, especially when going first. 1 copy of Glow Bulb. What this card does, it is our level 1 tuner that if it's in the graveyard, we can send the top card from our deck to special summon it. So essentially, we can get 2 synchro summons inside of 1 card. Awesome card for this deck. That's it for the monsters. That brings us about 20. For spells, we run 3 copies of Trade-In. More often than not, I will side out the 3rd Trade-In depending on what I am siding in, but essentially allows us to dig deeper into our concept without losing any of our monsters completely from the game. 3 copies of Dark Contract with the Gate. Now, you can only gain 1 effective Dark Contract with the Gate once per turn, but the fact that we use Desires and the fact that we want to see this card as fast as possible makes us play 3. It's essentially the second Stratos of the deck. It allows us to add 1 DD monster from our deck to our hand once per turn. Of course, we run the 2 copies of Pot of Desires, and I want to say, I have a new saying for Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is like that girl at the club. Of course you want her, and you want her for the first time, but after you have her the first time, you don't want to see any more of her. Hopefully she gets banished, and you don't have to ever see her again. That's exactly how I feel about Pot of Desires, and that's why I run only 2 copies. Of course I want to see it early and often, but after I see it after that first time, I don't really want to see it again. 2 copies of Twin Twisters. Twin Twisters is awesome for getting rid of back row. It also allows us to pitch DDD cards like DD Necro Slime to our graveyard to give us a fusion summon play. 2 copies of Dark Contract with the Swamp King. This card allows us to further fuse, and it's a contract card, so it's searchable by Savant Kepler. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Off the top of the head, we run 7 targets for this card, being Necro Slime, Swirl Slime, and Glow Bulb. We can also send DD monsters from our deck to our graveyard to set up certain plays. 1 copy of Burial from the Different Dimension. This card is nasty. Being able to recycle Swirl Slimes and Necro Slimes, as well as other cards that we banish, really gets us set up. But the most important thing is that while we're recycling our cards, we can actually shuffle one of those ABC monsters to the graveyard to prevent ABC Buster Dragon from resolving. 1 copy of 1 for 1. This card gets us to our Savant Kepler as fast as possible, but it also special summons Glow Bulb from our deck. 1 copy of Soul Charge. Anytime you open up with Soul Charge in a playable hand, you're probably going to make an unbreakable board. The Upstart Goblin. This card is actually really good because it makes our cards less than what we have. I mean, if you count Desires, I'm running 29 cards. 1 copy of Raigeki, or is it 27 cards? It's one of those. Raigeki is really good for clearing boards. I think it's an awesome card this format, especially when you have to deal with cards like ABC Buster Dragon and Full Metal Foes Alkai's. 1 copy of Dark Contract with the Witch. This card is really good. I just don't really like traps, especially in this format, and I don't really want to see it that often. And then the last trap is 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness to prevent the opponent from special summoning. There are a couple of cards that I'm pretty sure you guys are going to bring up, like Cali Effect. Why aren't you running a Lure of Darkness? Well, a Lure of Darkness doesn't necessarily keep my resources where I need them. I either want my resources in my hand or my graveyard to perform a fusion summon, and a Lure of Darkness doesn't do that. Also, DDD Betterment, if it can change its own level, the card would be awesome, but it can't, so I don't like it. There's a couple of other cards, like Transmodify, that I would want to play. I actually could cut the Upstart Goblin for the Transmodify because the deck gets really nasty with Transmodify. But on to the extra deck. Only reason why I opted against it is because I wanted the consistency. 1 copy of DDD Dual Don King Kali Yuga. This card is a heavy storm. It negates all monsters face up on the field, or all cards face up on the field, and it recycles Dark Contracts. Very, very good rank 8. 1 copy of number 38 Hope Harbinger, the next best rank 8, mainly because it is generic. The next thing is if our opponent tries to attack our Savant Keplers in attack, you're going to be met with a Rude Awakening inside of Hope Harbinger. 1 copy of Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon. This card is awesome, especially when we can swing at our opponent for a ton of damage. We make this card and tell them to try to play Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 copy of number 11 Big Eye. Anytime we want to steal our opponent's monsters. 1 copy of Constellar Ptolemy M7. This card is also really good. Anytime we want to get over monster threats, or even just return certain cards like Swirl Slime to our hand for a second fusion summon. I think Constellar Ptolemy M7 gives us the versatility that we need for it in an extra deck. 1 copy of number 24 Draculus the Vampiric Dragon. This card is the best rank 6 of all time. It has manipulation over extra deck monsters, and on top of that, when it's removed from the field, it practically gets special summoned right back. Also, when it's flip face up, you get to manipulate more cards and send them to the graveyard. 1 copy of Psyframe Lord Omega. This card actually makes the deck really good. The reason behind it is because after we Pot of Desires, we can summon Psyframe Lord Omega and then toolbox all of our Necro Slimes and Swirl Slimes back into our graveyard. 1 copy of Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. This card is actually really easy to summon with Glow Bulb, and it allows us to get rid of pesky monsters. 3 copies of DDD Oracle King D-Arc. You could drop it to 2, but there's probably going to be a time where you're going to need all 3. I know there's a time where I need all 3. Essentially, when it's on the field, any damage we take becomes gains instead. It also works really well with Transmodify, as you can Transmodify the King Oracle Arc into a Oblivion King Ragnarok or DDD Savant Thomas and make another crazy play. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to drop the Upstart Goblin for the Transmodify again. Transmodify is awesome. It can be dead, but hey, it is what it is. 3 copies of DDD Flame King Gygus. When we special summon a DDD monster, we get to special summon another DD monster to our side of the field from our graveyard. It also helps make the rank 6 plays. And then 1 copy of DDD Wave Oblivion King Caesar Ragnarok. This card steals our opponent's monsters, gains the monster attack, and then performs replay if they have multiple monsters on the field, or if you use this effect. This card is completely awesome. Next, for the side deck, is 3 copy of Kaiju Gamma Seal. I hate ABCs. Even more importantly, I hate Blue Eyes, because Blue Eyes has a really good matchup against this deck. So I just Gamma Seal all their important cards. 3 copies of Denko Sekka for those frog players. Oh man, anybody that likes to play back row like frogs and Magic Specters, you're going to be met with Denko Sekka. I'm not going Twin Twisters. We're just going to Denko Sekka. The other 2 copies of the Vanity's Fiends for when I get to decide, or if my opponent knows that or if my opponent makes me go first, I'll just side in the other 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend and open with them and then make them cry. For spells, we run 3 copies of System Down. Back to ABCs. I do not like playing against that deck. I actually just want to blow it out as fast as possible, and System Down helps a lot. 1 copy of Twin Twisters for extra back row destruction. And then we get really spicy with 2 copies of Deck Devastation Virus. This card is a complete blowout against decks like Magic Specters because it completely cripples their whole deck. It destroys all monsters in their hand or any monster they would draw for the next 3 turns that's under 1500 or less attack. If you guys haven't really did your math, that's every Magic Specter monster for the exception of Kieran. Complete blowout. And then 1 copy of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card is also a blowout against almost every single deck. Only reason why I don't mainboard it is because it's hard to tell what you want to do, and going first is a problem. Eradicator Epidemic Virus requires you to tribute 1 dark monster with 2500 or more attack. Then you get to choose Spell or Trap, destroy all of those, and then for the next 3 turns, anytime your opponent would draw those cards, you get to destroy them as well. So you guys can see why this card is a blowout against a lot of decks. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I hope you guys enjoyed the DDD deck profile. If you guys want to see more deck profiles, please like the like page, and then we'll have another competition. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. Hey guys, for more Cali Effect content, you can always visit me on Facebook at the official Cali Effect page. For more videos, just click on one of these awesome videos below. And if you guys would like to buy the cheapest cards with the fastest shipping, then you can always check Google Documents down below. Thanks for watching.